Hey everyone. Hey guys. At the end of a hell of a day and so many insane talks, I realized I've still got my tea here, so just ignore that. In fact, I might put that down. First of all, I think it's worth saying a massive round of thanks to the whole crew, James, Kieran, Ash is there. Let's give a big hand for all the amazing organizing. And let's not forget, we got camera crew here, we've got people helping, doing all the food and stuff like that. I'm sure Ash is probably about to say all this, but just an insane job by everyone, so well done all. And everyone who's speaking as well, for all the amazing talks today. Another hand. Awesome. So I'm Jack, and Ash has invited me to be the compere for this final section. And this is basically just a roundup of bits of what we've heard today and just kind of digging into that with 4 amazing panelists who are just over there. You can obviously see them behind me. Follow them all on Twitter now. This is your moment, if they've got Twitter or LinkedIn, because these guys are all insanely talented and share loads of useful things on their socials too. So I'm going to invite them up one by one, maybe like wrestling or something. So we've got Ghada. Welcome, Ghada. She is the CEO of Unify Analytics. She's an insanely talented young lady, and I'm very, very excited to have her. If you sit, where do you want to sit? One of these? Okay, great. Laura is next. Come on up, Laura. We've got a marketing and communications talent. 14 years doing CRMs, marketing, etc. And then she's now tinkering with low-code tools, so I'm very, very excited to have her up. Next, we have Mike, co-founder of Minimum Studio. If you came to his talk, he was in this room just earlier, and he did a really interesting talk all about how not to set up an agency. And then we've got Eli. Welcome up, Eli. Eli is the head of product at ClearCard, insanely talented, has tons and tons of experience. Very excited to get his insights into AI and other things. Okay, I can now sit, sorry. So, is everyone's mics working?
I think so.
Think so?
Testing,
yeah.
testing.
Testing? Okay,
Testing.
amazing. So, we're going to do a little wrap-up of today, and there's some really interesting topics that I want to cover that Ash has kindly prepared for me, so thank you, Ash, for making me not look as stupid as I would if I was freestyling completely. So, Laura, I want to start with you. Learning how to get better at marketing and distribution and sales for their company. So there's a lot of people in here that have obviously they're very handy at no-code tools, they've made loads of stuff, but they might not actually know how to market those tools very well. They might just jump into making, and then they're kind of like, why is no one adopting this thing? So what advice would you give them?
So the good news is the very first part of marketing is product. So if you're building a product that solves a problem for people, that benefits them in some way, that is step 1 of marketing. I really like a concept called minimal viable tests. So you've got MVPs, we all know that as a phrase, but an MVT is a minimal viable test. And as an indie maker, as a no-code maker, this is a great way to approach your marketing. Start off with the smallest thing that you can test. So you think you know something about your audience, your customer, your community, test it out. How do you test out whether or not they're going to buy something? How are you going to test out whether or not your pricing is right? Just do it. Don't worry about whether or not you're going to be doing the same thing in 6 months' time. Start small, test, record the data, and adapt accordingly.
Test, test, test. And it's so easy to test for free practically, right? There's so many tools out there. Maybe this is where I bring you in, Ghada. So can you give some tips about using data to make decision-making objectively rather than subjectively?
Yeah, I just want to start by saying that there is nothing unusual about using data. We all do it. You don't have to be a data expert to do it. This morning I woke up, I had to check the weather to know if I want to bring an umbrella or no. This is data making decision based on data insight. So we just have to go back to the basis. We all do it. It's in our nature. There is nothing unusual or complex about it. And the machine is just there to replicate that behavior and to do it at a bigger scale, maybe. So the one thing that I also want to focus on is why are you using that data? So we live today in what I call an obesity of information. We have so much information, but not all of it is relevant. Go back to the basics. Why do you need that data for? And then find the data that's relevant. And again, I will just join your point. It's all about testing. You always have to test your data and go back to why I'm using it. Because I see a lot of companies just getting overwhelmed or excited about all the data that they have. But at the end of the day, if it's not helping you achieve your goals, again, know your goals, know why are you using it for. And just remember, it's part of our human nature. And follow your instinct as well. You have to do that even with data.
Awesome point there. This idea of obesity of data, I think, is really interesting because a lot of people, they're like, we need to track stuff. We know we need to track stuff, but actually, understanding when they've set up all the tracking and analytics, like what tracking is actually useful to actually, make those decision making. And I guess that comes back to what is the original purpose of whatever you've made, trying to be, whether that's a product or potentially a studio. So, speaking of, this man has Minimum Studio, co-founder Mike, he knows his stuff. Interesting point about using data with design and, when clients are trying to take the wheel, as it were, with design, and you're like, okay, how can we justify this? I imagine data would be quite a big part of doing that. Can you tell us a little bit about how you maybe do that in your agency and how you kind of push back on clients or guide them? Because there might be people in here that make products, there might be people in here that have agencies with clients.
Yeah, of course. I think what is tough with running an agency and working with clients is that they, in the end, are the responsible person for the final decision on any IT that you have. So I think the only thing you can do as an agency is consult as much as possible and have an intelligent, productive conversation with them about what they're trying to achieve. And of course, you can give them the metrics and the tools to showcase what a good idea looks like. But in the end, they're the ones that define their North Star metrics. They're the ones that define what to optimize for. So as an agency, I think the only job you really have there is to give them context and make them understand that, for example, traffic is not a good metric to optimize for, but you need conversion or you need something more deep into your product. So I think all we can do is provide them with examples. This is how this other company tracks success. This is how you could track your metrics. And other than that, we try to provide the best ideas within that framework. But in the end, I think it's really up to them. We can just share the knowledge with them because we've seen it with other clients that have been successful.
Yeah, I guess you're trying to look at that data and guide the client, but up to a point, there's only so much guiding you can do, and showing them objective data and being like, look, this does work the best. Even if you do that, they may well just be like, no, my way or the highway, and you're like, okay, you're paying me.
It works the other way around as well. So if they have good data to back up their decision, then you also have to listen to them.
That's very fair.
Both ways.
And Eli, I'm interested in how that relates to ClearCard. I mean, if you've got a lot larger team, how does data play a part in decision making within different parts of an organization?
I mean, you just have to look at. For us, we're business to business, and so we have a lower. We don't have a lot of users or volume users, but we have more business users. So you look at the functionality that's being used, right? And so we're coming at it from a product standpoint, and what are we going to build next? And it's really, you kind of analyze what are the feature requests that are coming in from our users? What are the features that are being used most? Kind of tracking that, and then use that to make your decision against when you're lining out your roadmap.
Question on that, there's a lot of people that might use Webflow, Bubble, Glide, Flutterflow. There's all sorts of different tools that everyone's got completely different use cases maybe to actually, they're just like, hey, Webflow, make this, or, Glide, make that. Like, how do you actually decide? You might have loads and loads of people asking for a particular feature, but does that mean that you should do that if you're basing those decision-making off the data that's coming in?
I mean, the tool you use, and I'll just quote Millie from this morning, like, build with what you know, right? So we have, specific tools that we build on, and we don't vary out of them unless we have a real reason to, right? So the stack that we're using, we can build most features, but it's one of those things that's like, if it can't be built inside those tools, we're not going to pull in another tool just randomly to build something. There needs to be a reason why you learn a new tool and reason why you pull that into your stack. Okay,
this brings us nicely on to the best tool stack. So obviously there's people that are really interested in AI and how that's going to influence their systems and processes, whether they're building products, whether they're in agencies, whether they're trying to manage a team. In terms of what the best tool stack is, do you guys have like one tool recommendation that maybe people aren't using in their tool stack currently that they really should or should know about or be aware of as it develops? That's an open question for anyone.
So for me, there's not one tool out there that everybody should be using. I'm absolutely guilty. So when I started my no-code building, tinkering kind of journey, I would get super enthusiastic. I would discover a tool, or someone else would have built something cool, and I'd be like, oh, this thing I want to do, I'll do it with that. And there'd be such a bad mismatch that I wouldn't be able to actually deliver what I had in my head. Because I didn't do any research. I didn't figure out actually what is this no-code tool designed for, what is its functionalities, what are its limitations. So I think with anything, it comes back to what are you trying to achieve? And there are probably several tools out there that can do that. There'll be trade-offs. So some tools will have, so for example, I love building in Glide. I'm not a designer, so I love the structure and the fact that everything looks uniform. But if you are, as Kelly was saying in a session earlier, if you're a designer, you might not want that trade-off. You might want more customization. So I think it's about figuring out what first of all, what do you need? And then personal preference.
Does anyone else have anything to add to that? Ghada, do you have anything?
Again, I agree there is no one size fits all. It's about what you need to achieve, what's your use case. Depending on your arm on your journey, there is a phase where I would recommend that you allow yourself to experiment. It's okay to try as many as you can, and then you will decide which one works for you. We all work in different ways. Some of us are more visual. Some of us want to be able to access a command line. We are all different. But find the one that works for you and works for where you are on your journey. Also keep your mind open as well. You might evolve beyond the tool. There will be a time where the tool does no longer fit your needs and you have evolved beyond that. You have to keep a level of agility. The one thing that I would caution against is vendor lock-in or platform lock-in, especially if it's a proprietary tools or code. This is a hack that I use even when I want to buy something. If I want to buy something, I would rather buy something that 100,000 people have bought before, and there are hundreds of thousands of reviews. And if something goes wrong, I can go and Google it, and they tell you I can find a forum how to fix it. If that's for me is a safe bet, don't go too niche, because when something goes wrong, it will be just you, and it wouldn't be a problem that someone else have solved before. So sometimes it's okay to follow the trend, because there is a benefit to that.
Yeah, just to follow up there, I did, trying out the tools until you find one that works for you. Before I found Bubble, I went through 2 or 3 different no-code tools, and then when I found Bubble, it just fit for what we needed right then, and I just committed to it, and that's not me. Like I'm chasing squirrels, and so normally I'm the next new thing that comes around, I want to play with it, and it's killing me right now because I don't have time to play with all the new tools that are coming out. But I would say find the tool that works and stick with it until you know that tool, right? Like don't jump off of it just because something else looks better. Like get really good at one tool, and there's so many reasons, because you're going to learn concepts, you're going to learn how to build, and it's much easier to learn kind of those underlying core pieces of building within a single tool. You're not always trying to learn, where's this button, how do I do this? And then once you've mastered that tool, right, then do look around, like expand your horizon. Don't keep yourself tied into a single platform. But I think it's also important to find the tool and then stick with it until you've really got it nailed.
Yeah, that makes a ton of sense. I guess it's important to have a good idea of the landscape, but then have a real depth of skill set in that particular tool.
Yeah, and I think it's good, I mean, while you're mastering a tool, like keeping your eyes out, but there's a difference between seeing kind of what's out there and spending, several hours every week on a new tool trying to find another direction.
Yeah.
You go.
Yeah, I think it's also really important to know yourself really well and to know how difficult you want to make your own life. Because we're talking about all these tools as if they're the same, as if they're also at similar difficulty levels, but learning something like Bubble takes a few years of really grinding, and learning something like Glide, no offense, it's a lot more simple, and that's great because it's a different target audience. So I think you should probably decide very early on, or experiment with that, to find out whether you want to be a developer or a builder or someone who is almost technical, or whether you just want to stick with the simple tools, because it's much better to do that if that's your goal.
And how does AI fit into all this? Because obviously we're all, well, I don't know about the audience, but I'm kind of nervous that we're all doing design and dev, and then there's, things like Framer or Rayloom, if anyone's into the Webflow. There's kind of one-click website builders, and obviously this is a no-code conference, but there are people here who understand code and are coming at no-code from a position of no-code makes everything faster and easier to test. And I guess there's a kind of full circle moment when AI is like, oh, well, actually, you don't need to know how to code as much as understand how to manipulate the code that you've already generated. I guess what I'm trying to say is, are we all fucked?
Yes.
Yes?
Yep.
Okay, great. Well, that's the talk's over, guys. Yeah, does anyone have any comments about how AI is changing the tool landscape that all of us know and love?
I'm an optimistic. I don't think we are all fucked.
Okay, great.
AI is a great equalizer. It's making it accessible to everyone. Like years ago, you had to know how to code. Today, you don't have to know how to code, so you can turn that idea very quickly into a product. And the more people have idea, the more products we will have, and the more competition we will have, and the more needs we will have, and the more demand we will have. I don't see this as a zero-sum game. It's just going to lead to a world where everyone can turn their idea into a product, and they can move on to the next product. So I do see it as a great equalizer. The element when you say maybe there is a risk because any one of us can do it, well, we are still doing it within a closed system. We are building it within a specific platform that has given I would say, governance and audit. I don't think we are just running in the jungle writing code in the dark web. No, that's not what we're doing. We are still doing it in a closed system, in a platform that's giving all of the assurance, and I would like to think that they are all compliant and everything that you would expect. It's just making us more creative.
Awesome. Who else has comments on this?
Yeah, I think on that note, I think earlier today Chad said something about layers of abstraction, right? And NoCode already brought us a new layer of abstraction on top of what we're already building. AI is just another layer that makes it even easier, so you no longer have to drag and drop, now you just prompt. I think it will be easier to create many different things, so it will be much more important that you have good taste, something I talked about as well, because there's so many more things that you can create in a short amount of time that you'll be able to curate, or you need to curate much more. Because it's not just the skill or the output that you have. I think it's much more important about what you actually produce, especially since the means of production is not that interesting anymore. It's all about the ideas that you select, I think, in the end.
When you say good taste, break that down for anyone that's wondering what that means.
Yeah, so if you can build any product constantly and it's not your time that's limiting that, then what product are you going to launch? Like, what are your users looking for? What is actually going to be a good business? I think you will spend a lot more time researching that, getting to know your users, picking the right idea, because you're no longer worried about how long it will take to build it. I think it will be a lot faster.
That makes sense. And Elo, from the position of someone that obviously is hyper aware of security risks with ClearCard, what do you think, what threats do you think AI poses to security when it comes to building with maybe no-code tools are getting easier and easier to use, but you're maybe getting further and further abstracted away from the code. How does that relate to security, do you reckon?
I mean, I think the thing I'm scared about is they're going to be smarter than us, right? Like it's, but at the same time, I think AI is a tool that we're going to use to increase all those risks, or to decrease those risks, right? We can use AI to analyze our database structures, our apps, how we're working, and actually do some of this testing. And so I think at the same time, while AI can potentially make our apps more vulnerable, I think that it will also be used to make them more secure at the same time.
Okay, I'm going to need to think about that after this panel. Can I ask maybe a pretty dumb question, or maybe I'm perceiving this as a little bit dumb. Should we all be learning AI tools? Because I think right now there's an interesting gap between like the early adopters who are doing crazy stuff really, really fast, and then maybe like more traditional agencies or product builders that are kind of referring back to what they already know. And yeah, how should we be thinking about learning AI tools? That's an open one.
So for me, I think everyone in this room is in a really good position because everyone here, I would assume, has a fairly high degree of curiosity. Like we're all here because we're interested in no code, in AI. I think at this stage, so to some degree, we are seeing a lot of hype around AI. Generative AI has brought, we were talking earlier, has brought what technological advances that have been years in the making to like public consciousness because it's so consumer accessible. What AI looks like in 5 years, in 10 years, even in a couple of years' time will look very, very different. So at this stage, for me, it's about staying curious. The idea that everybody all of a sudden, every business is going to be like 100% powered by AI is ridiculous. We've still got businesses out there that are like writing their appointments with a pen and a notebook. So there's going to be this long tail of businesses and consumers that are really reluctant to adopt AI. And I mean, part of the work my agency does, we do AI and no-code consultancy for businesses that want to know how it's going to impact their business in the future. I see my entire career being okay, because there's going to be some business out there that's like, oh shit, we really should be thinking about this AI thing. Like 10 years ago, ChatGPT launched. So I don't think there's going to be no overnight. I've totally lost the train of what your question was now. But there's going to be no overnight. It's not like everything is going to change overnight. But at the same time, I don't think we've even begun to see the impact and just how prevalent AI is going to become. So right now, it's about staying curious. Like you don't have to go and master every tool out there. Again, I'm looking for Glide sponsorship. I love building in Glide. I love that like they've built native AI integration, so I feel like I'm getting to play with it in a way that feels really accessible. I'm not going to, I don't feel like I need to go out and learn every single thing. I don't need to go back to university to get my PhD, but stay curious.
Does anyone else have anything to add to that?
Yeah, I think everyone here in this room, like AI is at top of mind for us, and we don't really, kind of in this bubble, we don't realize that outside of this world, like people really don't know what's going on. They're not really aware. Like everyone knows about ChatGPT, but like it's just not as prevalent in the public mind as it is for us. And so I think that's good to keep in mind, and I agree, like curiosity, just keep on, just keep watching it, watch where it's going, and try to keep a good eye on it, but you're not going to get left behind.
I think two things I want to add. The underlying value of AI will always be data. So I will always encourage people to learn about data and learning the value of data and pattern recognition. Even if you have a business, your AI will only be as good as your data. So just look after your data. That's the first thing I will do. Make sure it's good quality, it's well connected, it's well integrated, you understand it. Therefore, AI is not going to be in the future making decisions on your behalf that you don't understand. So that's step one. The other thing that I reflect on, last year, prompt engineering was probably one of the most hyped jobs. Anthropy recently released an AI that does prompt engineering for you. So I don't think if that job is still going to last for the next 10 years. Maybe in 10 years, we will have AI that abstracted that layer of prompt engineering, and we don't need anymore to do that prompt engineering. So again, stay curious, but don't worry about it. This is changing every day, and we are still experimenting, and all the biggest AI companies are still experimenting with it. And I work very closely with a lot of corporate companies. They're nowhere near experimentation. I mean, the one that are on the advanced level are actually doing experimentation. The other one are still figuring out what are the regulations and what are the policies that they need to put in place before they implement AI. So just to go back to your question, should we all be learning about AI? I will bring it back to the question of the value. What are you trying to achieve? Yes, there might be some areas in your business that can benefit from AI, can benefit from the efficiency that you can get with AI. Yes, go ahead, apply it there. But understand the value that you're achieving and for what. Are you trying to reduce cost? Are you trying to increase efficiency? Then find the right tool to do that. And I think there are areas where arguably we can use generative AI. For example, we can use a lot of AI model. I spent a lot of my career working on CRMs, and the customer support aspect is an element that I encourage my client to explore AI for, because they've already been on a journey where they had chatbots, where they had to program like an agent that's a bot, and now you get to a stage where that bot can learn from your own data and use generative AI to have a better human-like conversation with your customer. That's a good use case. That's a use case that has been proven. So yeah, I would encourage customer to explore that. But again, the general headline is we are still far behind.
Sorry, can I just I think it's also worth adding, especially given like there are a lot of people in this room that are looking for their next idea to build, right? There's a huge opportunity at this point. So if you're looking for like how to make like $20,000 MRR, like, yeah, get involved with AI, because there are so many use cases where a nice looking wrapper, good UI, a good UX means that you actually have a real opportunity. It might feel to everybody in this room that like, if you haven't looked at AI yet, that you're behind, but we are still kind of at the very, very peak of the crest of the wave. So I think that like from an entrepreneurial perspective, there is an absolute opportunity if you do start building with AI now to be one of the first and to actually have a chance to build something that lots of people are going to want to use.
Mike, shoot.
Yeah, I think to add to that, I think that's a great point. To add to that, you're actually in a great position with NoCode, which is underrated, I think, because you're basically building a lot of things where the LLM does the heavy lifting. So a lot of things are based on the actual AI doing the work. So all you need to do is build interfaces and build wrappers. And I think for the coming few years, we'll have a lot of opportunities where we just haven't explored using AI in that industry, or haven't explored using AI to build a product like that. So I think it's a great time to mess around. and to experiment. And especially since you're using no-code, you'll be so much faster than these big companies.
Yeah, definitely. And actually, Dominic Norton, who I'm not sure if he's still here, but he spoke about a tool called Chip, which is crazy. So definitely check that out. If you're looking to make 20,000 MRR, get the course Laura 20 to get it 20% off today. No, but if you are teeing up a course, that was genius if you're about to release that. Okay, so final question. How should people meet and connect with more people who share a similar mindset in their network? I think everyone here right now has already answered that question, but let's just get some insights from you guys. If there's anything that you're like, you need to join this online community, you need to go to this event, is there anything that you guys can give as nuggets for anyone that's wanting more of this information?
One answer for me is Twitter, to be honest. That's
Same.
why most of these things happened, I guess. So it's still the best.
Okay, great. Anyone else want to add anything there?
I'll agree on Twitter. Just talk about what you love. Give away free advice. Like if you have expertise, just give it to people. I think sometimes a lot of people want to kind of like hold back the nuggets, and it's we're in the information age, right? Like the obesity of information, and it's out there. Just become the expert. It'll attract people who are interested in the same thing. I use Twitter. There's other tools that work great. I just don't use them.
I think turning up to some of the more organized communities is great as well. So the game changer for me was a few years back joining an on-deck fellowship, NoCode fellowship. I mean, that's not around anymore, but from there, I then was introduced to people running other communities. And every time I've joined some sort of like community activity or community channel, I've met people that are doing what I'm doing and are interested in what I'm interested in. I'd spent the first decade of my career being told that I was a magpie and a shiny object syndrome, and like it was wrong to want to try and build different things and wrong to be interested in different things. And then I joined On Deck, and there were like hundreds of people making their career testing ideas, ditching them if they didn't work, jumping onto the next thing. And it was really that moment of sort of finding your, like, it's such a cliche, but like finding your tribe. We've heard today, like there's Ramen Club, there's Indie Beers, there's, someone mentioned earlier, Small Bets. Like, there are so many of these places where there are other people like us doing stuff that we would find cool. Like, test them out, figure out which one's the right format for you, the right community for you.
I would just add, agree with Twitter. Also, keep yourself informed. You are all here today. That's great. You are doing the right thing. I love Reddit. That's where I get all my news, and especially in tech. And there are always great conversation and enlightening conversation. But nothing is going to beat in-person event and in-person communities. If you are interested in a certain product, just attend any event that has to do with that product. If you are interested in a certain industry as well, that can also be another way to meet with other like-minded people. But we live in a time where you can just type on Google which kind of event you want to attend, and you will have loads of them. Just get out there, but talk and build those connections, because it's all about the connection that you build with people as well.
Awesome. Anyone else have anything to add there? No? One thing I want to add on that topic, actually, I know I'm meant to be asking you questions, but this just came top of mind, is Charlie, he shared what he actually did and then the results of what he did. And I think a lot of the time, there's a lot of people just talking, just fluff, just kind of like, oh, here's my general opinion on some topic. And it's like, no one cares. Whereas if you've kind of done the thing, like if you've actually tested it and then shared how that test, what the test was and the results of that test, I think that is where you'll see the most traction and the most engagement and the most conversations happening. I just think that's an important thing to add, because just kind of tweeting into the void is a little bit like farting in the wind. And that was the weirdest thing I could have possibly ended this on. Thank you so much to our amazing panelists. A round of applause for everyone here, please. So, Ash, are we going to do some questions with the audience, or is this a wrap, or how do you want to play this?
I think a final takeaway from everybody, just it can be anything. I think I'm trying to sum everyone's questions here together. Your final takeaway on the future of AI and no code is like audience here, to the panel, and then we'll do a wrap up.
Okay, great. So what am I asking? The future of AI.
No code AI, what's one like tweetable takeaway each of you can share with the audience?
Okay. The future of AI, what is your one tweetable takeaway?
Be nice to ChatGPT. They're going to rule us someday.
Don't forget to build an AI startup in the next few years.
Stay curious.
Just build that product.
Just do it.
Just do it.
Awesome stuff. Well, thanks again to our panelists, and thank you for the NoCode team for organizing today. It was amazing.